Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a fun show lined up for you. All right, report card for the Vols versus Texas A&M. We got the players of the game. We're going to do a whole bunch today.
Omaha! Up!
All right, what a great game. I know there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of good things to talk about. There's some bad things to talk about. We're going to get into all that. But we're going to start out with our players of the game. I'm actually going to do that first, which you saw the thumbnail. That's going to be James Pierce on defense. Obviously, he played fantastic. D. Williams on the special teams really sparked and probably had the play of the game, really, was that return. And then Jalen Wright was just a rock, man. He just was a patient runner. He was strong. He did all the right things. And it was really a nice game for Jalen Wright. But those are my three players of the game, obviously. I think we all saw that. But let's get into grading our different units, whether it's defense, offense, all that good stuff. Let's start out with our running backs. Obviously, Jalen Wright led the way. 19 carries for 136 yards. Had over a 7-yard average. That is fantastic, folks. That is just really, really good. Look, Texas A&M's got the best defensive line probably in the country. Their front seven is strong as can be. And I was really concerned whether or not we'd be able to reach 150 yards for the game, which I thought was pretty critical. And we surpassed that easily with 232 yards, so I'm very pleased with that.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Jabari Small had a nice game, 42 yards. Joe Milton actually ran the ball, and that helped him in my grading of the quarterback, which I'll be doing later on in the program. But he did run the ball, especially towards the end. And we're going to talk a lot about Joe Milton. Don't worry. We'll get into all the good and bad. And then Dylan Sampson had 9 touches for 25 yards with a almost 5-yard average, 4.7 on 49 carries. We were very much a running team yesterday afternoon.
I was running.
As far as receiving, the receivers, 11 for 100 yards. It's just... Yeah, that wasn't so good. The receivers, they didn't play the best. That's for sure. They didn't help their quarterback a whole lot. Quarterback didn't help them a ton either. As far as the defensive is concerned, James Pierce lived in the backfield. He only had 1 sack and 2 tackles for losses, and we only showed 2 sacks, but we really had 4. We had 1 where the guy did an intentional grounding, which cost us a sack. And even though we got the penalty and the down lost and the yardage, it was just as good as a sack. It cost us a sack. And then we also had 1 where we had the guy dead to rights for a 10-yard loss. Guy grabbed a little bit of his face mask. That's all you got to do. And it wound up being 15 yards the other way instead of 10 yards that way because we had him dead to rights. So unfortunately, we really had 4 sacks. But the most important thing is we lived in the backfield. That poor Max Johnson, he was not feeling good yesterday afternoon.
Oh, man, that is way too much pressure.
He was under intense pressure. That's exactly right. So as far as the defense is concerned, I can only give this grade for them. That's exactly right. A+++. I love giving the defense that grade. I rarely was able to do that last year, and I've been able to do it a couple of times this year. So it's really nice to see them playing so well. We'll see how they play down in Tuscaloosa, but I'll tell you what, when they're in Neyland Stadium, they play with their hair on fire, and they give teams grief. We wore out Spencer Rattler, who was probably playing as well as any quarterback in the SEC 2 weeks ago. And, of course, Max Johnson, just that poor guy. He's going to be seeing the orange in his sleep. But let's get into the offense. Obviously, Joe Milton went 11 for 22, which is 50% for 100 yards. He had a 4-yard average, 4.5 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't know that I've ever seen a Josh Heupel offense have 100-yard passing. I'm sure that's the only time it's ever happened. I just can't imagine it. I'm kind of in shock over it. The receivers didn't help him at all. But I tell you, the running out of bounds, not once but twice, I don't want to see that anymore. I have seen Joe Milton run out of bounds enough. Okay, we've seen you can run out of bounds during critical times when there's a first down marker right there and you had the angle. And then another time where you could have lowered your shoulder, you didn't do it that time either, and you threw some missile out of bounds for whatever reason. That's got to stop.
Hello? You play to win the game.
I don't know what they're going to have to do to get him not to run out of bounds when the first down marker's right there. He's got a free play. But Josh Heupel's got his work cut out for him because that's situational awareness, and sometimes he just doesn't have it. So that's very unfortunate. He did run the ball in the second half pretty well, and he lowered his shoulder and started kind of bullying people, which I've been waiting for him to do since the day he showed up here. He clearly can run. He's clearly very strong when he just doesn't want to run for some reason. I'm going to tell you this much. If I was Josh Heupel, there's two things I would tell him. Do not run out of bounds with the first down marker within a yard or two of you. That's number one. Number two, I would say you're going to need to run. You're going to need to run the ball, or I'm going to have to find somebody that will. That's really where I'm at with it. Look, I like Joe Milton. I know all you do. But he's got to run with the ball some because his arm's not going to carry us far enough. But if he could become a dual threat guy, he could become very dangerous. You saw how he ran there towards the end. I'll tell you what, he's a very effective runner when he wants to be. Plus, the defense doesn't expect it. No defense is going to expect him to run. They're going to think, oh, he's going to hand off or he's going to run out of bounds. When he lowers that shoulder on those cornerbacks that he has by 70 pounds, there's not much they can do except get run over, and he gains another 3 or 4 yards. You know, these are not big guys that he's having to run over. We're not asking him to run up the middle of up the field and hit the middle linebacker. We're talking about swinging it out, keeping the ball, and taking out a cornerback or two. And if it is a linebacker, then you can get down, or run out of bounds, whatever. No, take that back. He's not allowed to run out of bounds anymore. Not unless he's past the first down marker. Oh, my gosh, I've never seen anything to equal it. So I'm going to give the quarterback and the wide receivers this grade.
C+. Oh, no, it can't be.
That's right, a C+. And look, that could have been a lot worse. The running there at the end with Joe Milton got him up to a C+, and I think that's quite fair. I'm not going to give the entire offense that grade because the running backs were great. They were fantastic. I was thrilled with the running backs. The offensive line did fine. They weren't unbelievable, but they were really good. So running backs, offensive line, I'm going to give you all a solid A. I thought you did a really nice job. I can't give you an A. Well, I probably ought to give the running backs an A++. Well, I already made Jalen Wright one of the players of the game, so that's probably good enough. Now let's talk about special teams. The punt by Jackson Ross down to the 1 foot line was a huge play. That was a monster play because that set up the fact they had to punt from their own end zone with only a 10-yard buffer, and you prefer 15 yards. So they were set up to try to make sure we didn't block that punt, and we set up for a return, and that helped a lot as far as us being able to run that ball all the way back. Of course, D. Williams God, he is so shifty. Man, you think he's like a water bug. Man, he's here 1 minute, nowhere here the next. And he does it, seems like, every time. That guy is ready to go to the house at all times. He really is. He is dangerous. I kept saying early in the season, said he's going to go to the house. He's going to go to the house. He's already done it twice. We had one called back, but still was a great return. And now I think he's done it twice, so pretty strong. And what a key play that was. That was the play of the game, honestly. It really was. It really shifted the momentum and got the crowd going crazy. And then all of a sudden, Max Johnson's having to throw the ball, and he forced 2 passes, which was the pressure that was on him was messing with him, and that caused the interception. So we can thank the defensive line for that. And Gabe Judy-Lawley and Harden had 2 nice interceptions, but those were overthrows, because he was feeling the heat. So really that D. Williams and that punt by Ross, that was fantastic. That was just a wonderful sequence right there. I loved it. So this was a very exciting game. There was some very stressful moments. I know y'all felt it too. I certainly did. But we did get the victory. I don't know that we're going to be able to throw for 100 or 150 yards and win a whole lot of games coming up because we've got to play Alabama and Georgia. Then we got Kentucky and Missouri. We're going to have to throw the ball much better than this. We'll see what Josh Heupel's got up his sleeves. The other thing is Joe Milton needs to run the ball. He needs at least 50 yards in a game, and he can easily get it. He can easily get it. And that would take pressure off him. If they were concerned he was going to run, they wouldn't be able to pin their ears back and put quite as much pressure on him. It would really mess with the defense. They might even have to get a spy. And a spy, if a quarterback doesn't run, is a wasted defensive player because he's just sitting there in the middle kind of hanging around and he's not covering anybody. So he needs to run the ball and put pressure on that defense and take away one of their defenders or pick up 8-10 yards. So anyway, I could not have been more pleased. As far as coaching, the first half was not coached very well at all, but you also have to say Josh Heupel's figured out how to win when he's not got a super hot quarterback. You know, he's turned this team into a running team, which everybody thought we were a passing team, and we're not. We're a run-first team, and I think that's been proven. And then he's improved the defense quite a bit with some great recruiting. So I'm not going to rip on the coaches too much for some of the decisions in the first half. I know a lot of people were unhappy with some of it. But overall, I'm a Josh Heupel person, and I wouldn't have any other coach out there. And we'll see how this plays out. But overall, a super fun night. I know everybody's concerned. It doesn't feel like last year when we were 6-0, 7-0, 8-0.
Remember?
But we're 5-1, and that's not a bad record. We're 2-1 in the SEC, and we've got some tough games coming up that we need to win. And we'll be talking all about that on this channel, I can promise you. And at this time, I do want to thank today's sponsor. That's Eco Heating and Air. And these folks are super UT fans. They love the Vols, and they were watching this channel and enjoying it, and they actually contacted me about becoming a sponsor, and I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Let's do this. And we've been doing it ever since. And they're really well known for their super fast service.
Speed's what we need. We need greasy, fast speed.
They really like to take care of their customers in a major way. And they have a special right now for maintenance. The next 15 people that call, if they purchase their maintenance agreement, they will get a brand new UV air cleaner they can use in their system. It's the same type of unit they use in hospitals. Keep your air nice and clean. And the special includes 2 visits, 21-point inspection, and they will really keep your unit in excellent shape. And that's really important. As I get older, I realize how important it is. I've had my HVAC go out, and it's terrible. In the summer and the fall, you just burn up. It'll make you sick as a dog. And the last thing you want is that to happen, because it can get very expensive. I had to replace a unit many years ago, and it was $8,000. I've told you all that, but it was terrible. So don't be like me. Call the man.
Just call the man. Just call the man.
Exactly. And you just need to take care of your HVAC. It's the most important aspect of your house, really. It keeps you nice and comfortable. So don't be like me and don't be like Aunt B. Just call the man.
Why didn't you call the man?
I should have called the man like you said.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that ball game as much as I did. I know it was stressful at times, but that was Texas A&M. Let me tell you something. They're as loaded with talent as any team out there. They've got as much as Alabama and darn near as much as Georgia. So we played a very strong team in the trenches and overpowered them, really. And I was very pleased with that. We'll see how we do on the road next week. But this was a very important victory for us because this is a tough stretch coming up, and we needed to get off to a good start. And we've done that by beating South Carolina and now Texas A&M. So I feel good about that. We'll see how it plays out the rest of the year. I know everybody's concerned about quarterback play and all that, but we're kind of a running team now, and we rely on our defense as well. So it's not like we totally rely solely on 1 or 2 players. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols and all that good stuff, all our opponents. And if you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. Costs you nothing, and it helps me out. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.